Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Evan with another video. So I wanted to give you an update about what I've been up to recently and stuff. So this video is about why I quit my landscaping job and why I resigned from it. I'm going to tell you what the problem was about working at a landscaping company and why I really resigned. So March of 2025 of this year, I graduated from MCTI trade school, which stands for Michigan Career Technical Institute, and I did the ground maintenance program or the grounds program or landscaping, whatever. So I wanted to work at a landscaping company. I wanted to see what it was like. So I was like, you know what, this seems cool and interesting, whatever, right? So April, I worked for a very small company called Tinsley Landscape and Hardscape. And we were, like, getting, like, maybe 20 hours or so. And I was working at the grocery store. And I worked there for a while. And then, it was a good company, but he was having some issues, whatever. But he was a nice guy. I called him, I looked it up, and, like, hopefully this is a job for me. And one of his coworkers just didn't want to show up. And I was the only one that showed up. And then I think a couple months later, or a month later, I called him. I'm like, it was just getting harder and harder and harder. And that's why I went back to a corner. But my dad found, like, hey, I found another landscaping company called Bellbot Services. And he was by Green Leader Pizza, or the veterinary place, somewhere on Madison Heights, like 12-mile area, right? And it says, hey, Evan, I found Bellbot. I'm going to look up their website. And I think I found a landscaping company called Bellbot. I'm like, oh, shoot, let's give it a try. So we applied there. And we got a job interview. I think it was like beginning of June. So I went there to get interviewed by this guy, one of the bosses, and the owner, right? So we went in there, and they basically explained what Bellbot was all about. And Josh, and then one of the owners said, hey, one of the people that worked there, one of the managers said, hey, when are you looking for a job? So as soon as possible. Like, okay, we give you June 16th. So I started on June 16th. One of the coworkers was like a foreman, and then the other coworker I met, right? And we pulled weeds, and I was just pulling weeds and pulling branches. And then the second day, it was okay. It was pretty decent, right? And then the second day, right? The second day, it was harder. And then the coworker I met the second day didn't show up, and then he just quit. Or I don't know if he got fired. So I met a couple guys, and one of them was just such a jerk. And he was like, you got to do it this way. And I'm like, bro, I'm a new employee. And it was just, so it was I remember it was very hot that day. And when my coworkers got stung by a bee, and then I was pulling weeds and stuff, I'm like, it was just so hot and muggy. And I don't know, the way that the people I worked with just didn't, the way they treated me wasn't fairly. They were just rude. And then the second day after Tuesday was Wednesday. And I had basketball day camp. It was a good day. And Thursday was kind of a weird day. I met this other coworker, and he was nice, but then we were cool. We went to a place I don't remember where we went. I think it was Troy, and then Bloomfield. Then we went all the way to Oxford. And then I got some lunch, but whatever. And then the other coworkers were just crabby and just whatever. And then I went there, and my other coworker said, have a good day. And then he said, oh, don't talk to me, leave me alone. I'm like, why are you being rude to me? And then my boss that helped me was getting, and then some of my coworkers like, oh, you're not doing enough. And then they literally were just mean to me for no reason. And then my other boss, and I'll explain it later. So basically what we did at Bellbot, we pulled weeds. I helped them with tree branches. I did mulch. I had to put rocks in barrels. And then after we got done, I had to sweep up the garbage, sweep up and whatever. So basically, we had to sweep and put it in the trailer. And then they're just getting on me, just being rude, whatever. But also, it's like a lot of these coworkers I worked with were like either high school dropouts, straight up alcoholics, or just who knows what, right? I was like the only educated and chill person at that work. But you realize when you work at a company, when you're doing a trade like that, you have to realize when you're like a high school graduate or you're smart, educated, I have like a learning disability. And it was hard because these people don't even understand when you work with someone with a disability or learning disability, it's hard. And that's one reason why that's another reason why I say because they were just impatient and rude and whatever. So then other days, I had good days and I had some really, really bad days. And if you had to go to the bathroom at a landscaping company or Bellbot, you had to use a plastic water bottle or a pop bottle. And then my other boss, like, why you gotta go to the bathroom? Because even if you had to go, you really had to go, whatever. But that's why I didn't like it, because they wouldn't give us porta potties. And another reason why I didn't like Bellbot, because I was getting like 4 days, and the days were like getting like giving the 4 days. And then one day I got 2 weeks, 2 days, which is weird. And then I got 4 days and 4 days. The days kept getting shorter, which is a 3 days, then 2. And then like last week was and then also I was getting less and less days, whatever. And then we did mulch. I had to pull weeds. I had to help them dump barrels. But then we're like, oh yeah, you're not fast enough. You got to be faster, which is stupid. Because somebody that learns differently, that doesn't give you the excuse. But another reason, and then we mostly did Oakland, sometimes Macomb, and then one time we went to Lapeer for the owner's house, because the owner lives in Lapeer. And then, what else did we do? We sometimes went to the same locations, whatever. And literally had to put sod, and sometimes the way, like, you gotta put sod this way, and literally they were just, you're not doing what we, like, it's just, And the way they talked to me was so unnecessary and rude. Like, why are you talking to me like that? It's not even nice, and it's just rude. And I'm so glad me resigning at that job was the best thing ever. And then one of my other coworkers, sometimes he was nice, sometimes he's mean, but he was nice, but I don't know. But then when I left that, and then also when we got slower and slower, it wasn't, and then I'm like, you know what? The more I work here, the unhappy I feel, right? And then when I felt happy, I was going to say, and then the owner said, like the big boss of the company, would give this other coworker more days and I would get less. So he would give me less days and my other coworkers less days, but he'd give our other coworker more days. And it was just BS because they didn't offer health insurance, no benefits, which is stupid. Because I'm a 21-year-old who's going to be 22, I want 40 hours so I can keep myself busy, not bored. And then after I put the tools away, I had to empty all the trash, sweep the shop, whatever. And then some days I had to work at the shop and clean, whatever. And then we were just pulling weeds and stuff. And then we had to pull weeds at this cannabis place in Madison Heights. And then after that, I had to work at the shop. And then my other coworkers would show up for one day, and then the second day they wouldn't show up. How unridiculous is that? If you work at a job, if your boss tells you have to work this day, you show up no matter what. And then I was like, I don't feel happy here. And some of my coworkers were literally talking to me like I was dumb and just rude. But I felt like I talked to my family, says, you know what, Evan, I think it's time for you to resign this job. I think it's time for you to move on. And then I told my boss, I said, hey, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. Thank you for opportunity. This job wasn't for me. And then when I resigned that job, it was the best thing I ever did. And I felt so happy that I resigned because, and when I told them, and then like last week was like my last week working there. And then after that, I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth it anymore because I thought I liked it. And like me working there 5 months, I've learned a lot working there. I learned how to work with different people, learn how to, like, new skills or whatever. I learned new skills and new things, right? When you work at a place with new people, you're going to have to develop new skills. And that's one thing I've learned. Is even though they might not be the nicest people or the greatest people, you have to learn how to work with skills. And you working there, it's just different. And some days we had to work 3 days, 2 days for projects, right? And then it just happens when you work in this company. And then also, some of the days were rainy and all this, but it's just a blessing to just do it. But yeah, man, it wasn't for me, and some days I felt really bad working there, and then crappy employees, this and that, but yeah, man, it's just, now that I'm living life, hopefully I get this job back at the grocery store, and hopefully I get this job at the hospital, which I'll talk about in another video. But yeah, you know, if you can like, comment, and subscribe to the video, I would love that. Thank you for watching the video. If I appreciate it, stay tuned. And then also, we also had a work party and stuff at my landscaping company. I was in there for 2 hours. It was just weird. I don't know. Whatever.